A person who ignores you once will ignore you again. A person who disrespects you once will do it again. The real question is, how many times will you allow it? Right now, you're letting it happen over and over again, sitting in silence, waiting, hoping they will finally acknowledge your existence. You're craving attention from someone who has already shown you, through their actions, that you are not a priority. Look at yourself. Look at what you've become. Someone who once moved with confidence, someone who had power, who had dignity. Now you're staring at your phone like an addict waiting for their next fix, scrolling, checking, hoping for a sign that they still care. Stop. Right now. Listen to yourself. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe I should wait. Maybe one day they'll see my worth. Wake up. You're out here making excuses for someone who treats you like an afterthought. You're standing in a burning house, coughing on the smoke, and instead of walking out the door, you're convincing yourself that the fire will eventually go out. But it won't, because they're the one who lit the match, and you're the one sitting there, letting yourself burn. If you're ready to take your power back, hit the like button. If you're done being played, subscribe. Because this is your wake-up call. Welcome to reality. And if this is your first time here, you came at the right moment, because you're about to hear the truth, the raw, brutal truth that no one else will tell you. Society won't tell you, your friends won't tell you, and you won't find it in the fairy tales that convinced you that if you just love them enough, they'll change. Lies. We've been fed lies since childhood. Love is patient. Love is kind. No, love is supposed to be mutual, reciprocal, respectful. Love is supposed to make you feel valued, secure, wanted. Love is not something you have to chase. It is not a game where the more you suffer, the more they suddenly realize your worth. But here you are, treating their love like some grand prize you have to earn, lowering your standards, waiting, hoping. They won't wake up and see your worth, because the truth is, someone who truly values you will never risk losing you. Let me tell you about someone I once knew, a person just like you, smart, kind, full of life, but trapped. They spent 2 years waiting for someone who gave them nothing but breadcrumbs, someone who disappeared for days, then showed up with weak excuses, someone who flirted with others right in front of them, then made them feel crazy for bringing it up. Every time they tried to walk away, this person would sense it, like a predator who knows exactly when to reel their prey back in. They would come back with sweet words. I miss you. I've just been going through a lot. You're the only one who understands me. And just like that, they would cave. Until one day, something changed. They woke up and saw the truth. They were never special to them. They were just convenient. And you are not special to them. You are just convenient. I know it hurts. I know you don't want to believe it. But this pain, this moment right here, is the truth setting you free. Because when they finally cut them off, fully, completely, no explanation, no warning, no second chances, guess what happened? Panic. Suddenly, they couldn't ignore them anymore. The calls came in, the messages poured in, the desperate attempts to talk. But by then, it was too late. And you need to get to that point. The moment you stop chasing, they start wondering. The moment you stop waiting, they start searching. And the moment you finally walk away for good, that's the moment they realize they were never the prize. You were. Say this out loud. I refuse to be ignored. I am the prize. Type it in the comments. Show them. Show yourself. Show the universe. Because this is just the beginning. Now let's talk about what happens next. Let's talk about how to make them regret ever taking you for granted. Stay with me, because the next thing I say, it might just change your life. 1. They thought you were just an option. Now watch them learn the hard way. When did you become so small? When did you start settling for a life where someone's half-hearted, inconsistent and pathetic excuses for love were enough? When did you start believing that waiting, proving yourself, and lowering your standards would finally make someone love you the way you deserve? You weren't born for this, but look at you now, justifying their absence, convincing yourself they just need time, they just need space, they're just not ready for commitment. The same tired story, the same lie millions have believed, and the same trap keeping you stuck, second-guessing, wasting your love, your energy, your years on someone who was never worthy of you to begin with. Why? Because they trained you for this. Since childhood, you were fed a lie. Be patient, be kind, be understanding. If you're good enough, they'll see your worth. But what did they never tell you? That anyone who needs to be convinced of your worth was never worthy of you in the first place. And yet, here you are, stuck in a game you were never meant to play. A game where you give and give, hoping one day they'll wake up and love you back. Let me rip the blindfold off your eyes. That day will never come, because this was never about you not being enough. It was never about you needing to be more patient, more understanding, more loyal. This was about them knowing you were too afraid to walk away. And they were right. Every time they ignored your text and you sent another, you proved them right. Every time they disappeared and you welcomed them back like nothing happened, you proved them right. Every time you waited, cried, and fought while they did the bare minimum, you proved them right. But today, that ends. Because the version of you that tolerated this, that version dies today. Yes, it hurts. It hurts to accept that the love you thought you had was never real. It hurts to realize that the person you built an entire fantasy around never actually existed. That the version of them you loved was nothing more than a projection of your own hopes and dreams. But don't run from this pain. Don't numb it. Don't distract yourself with meaningless rebounds, empty conversations, or self-sabotage. Feel every ounce of it. Because this pain, this is your wake-up call. This is the death of the weak version of you. This is the fire that burns down the part of you that accepted less than you deserved. And from those ashes, the real you will rise. The one who never chases, never begs, never waits. But let me tell you something about healing. It's ugly. It's brutal. It's not soft or easy or gentle. No one talks about how healing feels like war, like withdrawal, like detoxing from a drug you've been addicted to for years. And that's exactly what they were to you. A drug. You got hooked on the highs and lows, the chaos, the unpredictability. You confused their inconsistency with passion. You mistook their neglect for mystery. You thought their silence meant depth. But the truth? They were never deep. They were never complicated. They were just selfish. And now you detox. You will crave them, just like an addict craves their next fix. Your hands will itch to text them, to check their social media, to see if they still care. But you won't do it, because this is how you teach them the price of ignoring you. Not with revenge, not with games, not with empty threats, with your absence. The moment you stop being accessible, the moment you disappear, that is the moment they start feeling what you've felt all this time. You want them to miss you? Stop giving them the chance to have you. You want them to regret ignoring you? Become the one they can never reach again. And if you're thinking, but what if they never come back? Then ask yourself, what exactly would you be losing? Someone who ignored you, someone who disrespected you, someone who made you feel like you weren't enough? That's not a loss. That's a blessing. Because the moment you let go of the wrong person, the right one finally has room to show up. And when they do, you won't have to prove yourself. You won't have to chase. You won't have to beg, wait, or wonder. They will see your worth, without you having to set yourself on fire to prove it. Because real love doesn't leave you questioning where you stand. Real love doesn't leave you crying over unanswered messages. And right now, you are wasting your time on someone who doesn't even deserve access to you. From this moment forward, you flip the script. You stop being the one who waits. You stop being the one who overgives. You stop being the one who makes them feel safe in their disrespect. You become the one they fear losing. And when they finally realize what they lost, when they see you are no longer their safety net, their backup plan, their convenient little option, it will hit them, and it will hit them hard. But by then, you'll be too far gone to care. 2. They treated you like a toy. Now watch them lose the game. Why do you let them treat you like a damn toy? Why do you let them pick you up when they're bored, only to drop you the second something better comes along? Why do you keep making space in your life for someone who only remembers you when they have nothing else to do? Look at yourself. Look at what you've allowed. You jump when they call. You melt when they send a lazy hey after days of silence. You let them disappear, disrespect you, and then waltz back in like nothing ever happened. And the worst part? You welcome them. Every single time. Why? Because you think it means something. Because you think if they didn't care, they wouldn't come back. Lies. Someone who comes back isn't always someone who cares. Sometimes they just want to make sure they still own you. And right now, they do. They know they can put in zero effort and still have access to you. They know they can treat you like a backup plan, like a spare charger they only pick up when their main one isn't working. And you just sit there, waiting to be useful again. How did you fall this low? How did you become so desperate for love that you've convinced yourself crumbs are a full meal? Because society told you this was love. They told you to be patient, to be forgiving, to be the one who never gives up. They told you that if someone comes back, it must mean something. That if you just give a little more, wait a little longer, love a little harder, one day they'll change. Let's set the record straight. Someone who plays games with you does not love you. Someone who ignores you and only comes back when they feel like it isn't confused. They're just selfish. Someone who expects you to sit there waiting isn't struggling with commitment. They're struggling with basic human decency. And yet, you're still here. Why? Because you've been conditioned to believe that your worth depends on whether or not someone chooses you. But let me break that illusion once and for all. You are not a prize they get to win when they finally decide to be serious. A real person, a worthy person, would never risk losing you in the first place. But this one, they know you'll still be there. They know you're afraid to walk away. They know that no matter how many times they ignore you, you'll keep showing up. So let me ask you this. What exactly do they have to do for you to finally wake up? Do they need to ghost you for weeks? Do they need to cheat on you in plain sight? Do they need to tell you outright that they don't care about you? Or will you finally realize right now, today, in this very moment, that someone who truly loves you would never put you through this in the first place? Because love is not a game. Love is not a test. Love does not leave you confused anxious, sick to your stomach, wondering what you did wrong. And if this person makes you feel any of those things, then they are not your person. The worst thing you can do, stay. The longer you stay, the more you train yourself to accept disrespect. The longer you stay, the more you convince yourself that this is normal. The longer you stay, the harder it will be to leave. And that's exactly what they want. They don't have to be consistent. They don't have to make an effort. They don't have to treat you like a priority, because you've already shown them that you will settle for being a convenience. But not anymore. From this day forward, you stop. No more replying to their lazy messages. No more waiting for their attention. No more pretending that their half effort is enough. You walk away, and when they notice your silence, when they come back acting like nothing happened, you show them exactly who they lost. Because you are not a toy. You are not a spare charger. You are not something to be used when it's convenient for them. You are the whole damn prize. And the moment they realize it, it'll be too late. 3. They want you to wait. Flip the clock and walk away. How many more hours of your life are you going to waste waiting for someone who doesn't even think about you? How many more days, weeks, months are you going to put your happiness on hold because they won't send a damn text? How many more nights will you lie awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if today will be the day they finally realize what they had in you? Meanwhile, they're out there living their life. No hesitation, no second thoughts. They're not losing sleep over you. They're not checking their phone, overthinking their words, wondering if they hurt you. They know exactly what they're doing. And the worst part, they're comfortable doing it. Because they know you're still there. They know that no matter how long they disappear, no matter how inconsistent they are, no matter how many times they ignore you, you're still waiting, sitting there like a fool, convincing yourself that waiting means you care, that waiting means you're patient, that waiting means you're proving your loyalty. Waiting does not prove love. Waiting proves weakness. It proves that you have nothing better to do than waste your precious time hoping they will pick you. Let that sink in. You are literally handing over your life, your time, your energy, your emotions to someone who doesn't even have the decency to send you a damn reply. Let me make something clear. If someone truly cared, you wouldn't have to wonder. If they truly valued you, they wouldn't risk losing you. If they truly wanted you, you wouldn't be sitting here questioning where you stand. And yet, here you are. So, let me ask you, when does it end? When do you finally stop giving them access to your mind, your heart, your emotions, when they've already shown you that you are not a priority? Because here's the truth. A person will only make you wait when they are not afraid to lose you. They're not responding because they know you'll still be there. They're not prioritizing you because they don't have to. They're not committing because you've made it too damn easy for them to come and go as they please. So what do? You flip the clock on them. You stop waiting. Completely. You stop living on their timeline. You start living on yours. Right now, this second. You stop checking your phone. You stop wondering if they'll come back. You stop giving a damn. Because let me tell you something powerful. The moment you stop waiting, they start feeling it. You know why? Because they expect you to wait. They expect you to sit there, holding on to hope, stuck in their cycle. But what happens when you're not? What happens when, instead of wasting your time, you start glowing, growing, moving forward without them? I'll tell you what happens. They panic. At first, they won't notice. They'll assume you're still there, still waiting, still available. But then they start to wonder. Then they start to feel it. That emptiness where your attention used to be, that silence where your energy used to feed them, that void where your love used to give them control. And when they finally reach out, when that half-hearted "hey" lands on your phone screen, you don't even flinch, you don't reply, you don't react, you don't give them the satisfaction of thinking they still have access to you, because the truth is, they don't. They lost that privilege the moment they made you feel like an afterthought, and if they really want to be part of your life, they will have to work for it, not with empty words, not with weak apologies, not with breadcrumbs of attention, but with real, undeniable, consistent effort. And even then, you still might not take them back, because by then you will have realized something life-changing. Your time was never meant to be wasted on someone who couldn't even send a text. And the moment you understand that, that's the moment they learn what waiting really feels like. 4. You think they're special. They're just another forgettable face. Why do you think they're special? Why are you acting like this inconsistent, emotionally unavailable, half-effort excuse for a person is the rarest thing to ever exist? Have you lost your mind? Do you know how many people are just like them? Thousands, millions. You think you've stumbled upon some once-in-a-lifetime cosmic love story. In reality, you've just found another weak, emotionally stunted person who thinks tossing you breadcrumbs makes them royalty. They are not special. Someone who ignores you isn't rare. They're the most common species alive. Someone who plays games isn't a mystery. They're a predictable walking cliché. Someone who keeps you guessing isn't valuable. They're a liability. And yet, here you are, acting like they're the last damn person on earth. Wake up. There are billions of people out there. Billions. But you're stuck on this one. This inconsistent, half-hearted, disappearing act. It's embarrassing. And don't tell yourself it's because you love them. Love is not an excuse for self-destruction. You're not in love with them. You're in love with the idea of them. You've built a fantasy version of this person in your head. A version where they just need time. A version where they'll come around. A version where they're different when it's just the two of you. Because the real version, the one who ignores you, strings you along, plays mind games, that's the one you refuse to see clearly. But let's make one thing clear. If they truly wanted you, they would be with you. No confusion, no mixed signals, no guessing games, just clarity. But they don't want you the way you want them. And that hurts, doesn't it? It hurts to admit that the person you've put on a pedestal, the person you've waited for, the person you've given chance after chance, was never worth it. Let it hurt, because pain is better than delusion. You need to feel this truth so deeply that it burns away every last ounce of the illusion you've been living in. Because once you do, you will be free. 5. Starve them of your energy. Why continue feeding someone who offers nothing but crumbs in return? Consider this. Every moment spent sending texts, checking for responses, or scrolling through their social media is a moment given away to someone who treats you like disposable backup. Think about it. Why pour energy into a person who has made it clear they only reach out when it's convenient for them? They have become nothing more than an endless free supply for emotional validation, a safety net, a go-to when their primary source of comfort is unavailable. Imagine energy as a precious resource, a golden elixir that fuels your inner fire. Now, picture handing that fire away to someone who never bothers to keep it burning. It's like watering a plant that's already wilted, hoping it will somehow bloom. But here's the brutal truth. Watering a dead plant only drains your strength and stifles your growth. As someone once wisely said, You can't grow if you keep nourishing what's already withered. So, why do you continue this cycle? Why allow your energy to be siphoned off by someone who treats you as a mere convenience? Ask yourself, how long will you let this person steal your light? It's not about a fleeting emotion. It's about reclaiming what is rightfully yours. Energy, like time, is irreplaceable, and the longer you allow someone to drain you, the more you lose sight of who you truly are. When you give away your energy, you become accessible, a free supply that they can tap into at any hour without a hint of guilt or effort. You become like an open door for someone who never once cared about closing it. And here's what they truly learn. They learn that your love is endless, that your energy is inexhaustible, and that you're willing to sacrifice your own well-being just to keep them satisfied. But this is a mistake. People only learn the value of something when they experience its absence. When you withdraw, when you starve them of that energy, you flip the script entirely. It's like a sudden blackout in a room that's been dimly lit for far too long, a void that forces them to notice the absence of light. They might not immediately feel the chill of that darkness, but eventually the silence will speak volumes. When they reach out and are met with nothing but quiet, when their messages echo into an empty space, that is the moment they realize you were never a given, that your presence was never something to be taken lightly. They will begin to understand that the energy they once exploited has been reclaimed, and that absence is not only felt, it is deeply missed. Picture this. You cease all attempts to engage, withdraw completely, and remove yourself so thoroughly that it's as if you were never there at all. No texts, no casual check-ins, no haunting social media profiles for them to monitor. Just an undeniable, irrefutable absence that forces them to confront a harsh reality. You are no longer available. And in that silence lies the power. It's the power to make them feel the void, to force them to reckon with the fact that they once had something irreplaceable, something they foolishly took for granted. You might wonder, what if they move on? Let them chase after another, and in doing so, they'll quickly learn that the game remains the same. Only the players change. They will eventually discover that the one who once made them feel secure, who was always there to catch them, is no longer part of their equation. And when that realization hits, it will be like a thunderclap in the dead of night, a realization that what they had was never truly theirs to keep. Understand this. Energy is not an endless well to be exploited. It is the very essence of who you are, and once reclaimed, it can transform your life. You begin to invest it in yourself, nurturing your own passions, strengthening your body and mind, and building a fortress around your soul that no one can easily breach. By withdrawing your energy, you send a clear message. You are not an accessory to be used at whim. You are a force to be reckoned with. As the void grows on their end, they will eventually come to learn that loss is the greatest teacher of value. And when that moment arrives, you'll stand tall, no longer defined by the energy you once wasted on someone who never truly appreciated you. Remember this truth and let it echo in your mind. I am the loss they will never recover from. 6. When they crawl back, don't you dare fold. Listen carefully. This is the turning point. When they finally notice your silence, it's going to drive them insane. At first, they might pretend they don't care, telling themselves, "You'll break and you'll come crawling back just like you always do." They wait, acting as if your absence is nothing, but as the days drag on and their ego starts to itch, a different truth emerges. They begin to test the waters with a weak, "Hey," a half-hearted, I miss you in the middle of the night when no one else is around. And what do? You ignore their ignorance. You don't answer. You don't react. You refuse to give even a hint that they still hold power over you. Because the moment you reply, even a tiny bit, you validate their behavior. You tell them that it's okay to ignore you, to disappear, and then throw you a little bait to pull you right back under their spell. Remember, as someone once said, control is the sweetest drug for a fragile ego. They don't really want you back. They just want to know that they still have you. They want to see that, even after all the neglect, one snap of their fingers could bring you running. And that is why you must stand firm. This isn't real love. It's manipulation. A person who truly wanted you would never risk losing you. A person who truly values you wouldn't make you feel like an option. And someone who genuinely loves you wouldn't have to come crawling back, because they would never have left you in the first place. So what do? You make their worst fear come true. You let them experience the emptiness, the silence that echoes with every time they ignored your calls and messages. You allow them to feel that void, as real and heavy as a cold winter night when the world seems to stop. Imagine it like this. If your presence were a light, then your silence is the darkness that forces them to confront what they've lost. They might send a text that makes you hesitate, trying to play the nostalgia card, reminding you of the good times. They might act as if one moment of silence could magically transform them into someone worth your time. But that is when you choose yourself. When you see their name on your screen, instead of feeling weak, you feel nothing, because you have finally woken up. The old version of you, the one who chased, begged, and settled for less, is no longer here. This is what healing looks like. This is what true power feels like. When you hold your ground, when you refuse to let them back in, that is when you win. It's like watching a house of cards collapse. The moment they realize that their control over you is gone, they are forced to face the reality that you are untouchable now. As the saying goes, the strongest among us are those who rise after the fall. And let me answer the question you might be asking. What if they try to come back? The answer is simple. They already lost. They never truly cared about you. They only wanted the convenience of knowing you were there. And now that you've reclaimed your strength, you won't give them another chance to control you. Stand tall. Own this moment. Let your silence be louder than any words they could ever muster, because you have reached a point where you know your worth, and you are no longer available to those who fail to appreciate you. Remember this truth. I am no longer available for those who don't value me. Hold on to that and let it remind you that every moment you choose yourself, you win a little more of your freedom. 7. Leaving is tougher than hanging on. What are you so afraid of? You sit there trapped in a cycle, convincing yourself that walking away will hurt too much, that cutting them off will feel like losing a part of who you are. You worry that life without them will be empty, lonely, unbearable. But let's be brutally honest. What exactly are you losing? Someone who disrespects you, someone who only reaches out when it's convenient, a person who makes you feel like you're never quite enough. That isn't love, it's self-destruction. And every day you stay, you choose to slowly erase yourself, piece by piece. Consider this. If you remain in a relationship where you're treated as an afterthought, you are in effect becoming a ghost in your own life. Every time you accept their half-hearted efforts, you let a little bit of your spirit fade away. It's like watching a candle burn slowly, the flame diminishing with each gust of a cold wind until there is nothing left but smoke. As the saying goes, A light that is not cared for dims and eventually dies. And that light is you. You used to be strong. You used to have unshakable confidence and clear standards. But now you tolerate what you once vowed never to accept. You make excuses for them, lowering your expectations with each broken promise, each missed text, and each dismissive glance. Gradually, you allow them to break your heart in slow motion, a heartbreak measured in every moment of neglect, every instance where you felt invisible. Deep down, you're more terrified of the emptiness of their absence than of how deeply they wound you with their indifference. But here's something to consider. You are already alone in this relationship. A person who ignores you, disrespects you, and makes you constantly question your worth is not a partner. They check out whenever they want, vanish without a trace. And yet, you are still holding on. You cling to the hope that maybe someday things will change, that one day they will remember your value. But real love never leaves you in a constant state of anxiety, never forces you to fight for a place in someone's life. Imagine your life as a garden. When you allow someone to trample over it, you slowly lose the beauty of what you've nurtured. Every moment you allow their neglect, it's as if a weed takes root, choking the life out of the flowers you once cherished. Staying in this situation is not protecting yourself, it is letting your garden wither. And ask yourself, is it truly worth it to keep tending to a garden that isn't valued? There's an old adage, you can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. In this case, you are not the savior of a love that never existed. Instead, you are the one sacrificing your well-being in the hope of rescuing an illusion. The pain of walking away might sting in the beginning. You may cry, you may feel a profound sense of loss, and you might even doubt your decision. But the real agony lies in staying, in watching yourself fade away as you continuously give to someone who never gives back. Ask yourself, how much longer are you willing to lose parts of yourself? Every day you endure their indifference, you are giving away your power. And with each day that passes, you slowly forget who you truly are, the strong, resilient individual who deserves respect, admiration, and real love. The pain of leaving while formidable is the pain that leads to growth. It's the pain that cleanses your soul, that forces you to see the truth. You are worth more than being someone's consolation prize. When you finally choose to walk away, it won't be because you're leaving them behind. It will be because you're reclaiming your life. There will be days when you miss the familiarity, when the silence feels overwhelming. Yet remember that healing is not linear. The initial heartbreak is merely the catalyst for a breakthrough. Once you begin to heal, you will see that the relationship was nothing more than a painful lesson, a lesson that taught you what you should never tolerate again. At that point, you will understand that leaving was not a loss, but a liberation. You will find that the emptiness left behind is soon filled with the space for growth, self-respect, and true happiness. And in that newfound freedom, you will stand tall, knowing you made the hardest yet most important choice for yourself. 8. They don't chase, they replace. Are you finally ready to stop embarrassing yourself? Are you done chasing after someone who has made it painfully clear that they don't value you? It's time to face the truth. Spending your days pleading for attention and clinging to a person who barely thinks of you is not love. It's a self-imposed prison. Imagine a bird with a broken wing, forever trying to fly with someone who never cared enough to offer it shelter. That is what it feels like to beg for the bare minimum from someone who should be grateful just for your presence. Consider this. If walking away meant losing something, then what are you really losing? You are not losing them. You are liberating yourself. You're shedding the weight of an illusion that you mistakenly believed was love. Remember the old adage, the only way to win is to stop playing, because when you stop chasing, you begin to realize that what you once pursued was never truly worth the effort. You might ask, but what if I lose something essential by letting go? The answer is simple. You are not sacrificing a treasure, but rather discarding a counterfeit. The person who disrespects you, who only shows up when it's convenient, never truly cherished you. What you are holding on to is a mirage, a reflection of what you hoped could be real love, but it was nothing more than a deceptive illusion. Picture holding onto a fading star in a dark sky. The more you reach for it, the dimmer it becomes until you finally understand that the brightness was only ever within you. They say a queen does not beg, and a queen does not chase. She replaces. This isn't about running away in defeat. It's about reclaiming your power and stepping into a space where you are valued. Instead of wasting your energy trying to salvage something that was never whole, channel that energy into cultivating a life that mirrors the vibrant, untamed spirit you possess. Think of a phoenix rising from its own ashes, each moment of self-respect fueling your rebirth. It's natural to wonder if letting go might somehow create a void, a haunting emptiness where once there was hope. But consider this: the emptiness left behind is not a loss. It is fertile ground where new beginnings take root. The void is the space where your true self, unburdened by the weight of someone else's indifference, can flourish. As one wise soul put it, in every ending there is a beginning waiting to be born. Embrace that beginning. The reality is, you are replacing not a person, but a false image of what love should be. You are choosing to replace uncertainty and heartache with strength and clarity. A person who never truly loved you is merely a placeholder, a shadow on the wall that fades with the light of your newfound self-worth. They will feel the change when they see you moving forward, when your smile returns and your eyes shine with the brightness of someone who no longer needs validation from a hollow echo of affection. Imagine a garden overrun with weeds. If you keep trying to water them, you are only preventing the real flowers from blooming. By replacing the weeds with care for your own well-being, you create a garden where true beauty can grow. This is the essence of replacing, letting go of the toxic, making space for what genuinely nourishes your soul. Now is the time to stop chasing and start replacing. Replace the habit of waiting for someone who treats you as an afterthought with the commitment to honor yourself. Replace the painful chase with a quiet confidence that declares your worth is inherent and non-negotiable. Remember, the one who truly values you will never have to chase. You will always be enough, just as you are. In the end, choosing to replace isn't about bitterness or regret. It's about self-respect and the courage to pursue a life where you are the center of your own universe. Embrace that power and let it guide you into a future where your energy is cherished and where you, ultimately, are irreplaceable.